Once upon a time, in a quiet village nestled between rolling hills, there was a young boy named Luca. Luca lived with his grandmother in a small cottage at the edge of the village. His grandmother was known as the village healer, and she taught Luca about herbs and plants, sharing her knowledge of nature's remedies. One night, Luca's grandmother fell ill. Despite all the herbs and medicines she had, nothing seemed to help. The village doctor was puzzled and could do nothing more. Desperate to save his grandmother, Luca remembered an old story she had told him when he was younger. It was the tale of the moonlit garden, a hidden place deep within the forest where the rarest and most powerful flowers grew. Among them was the legendary night bloom, a flower that only opened under the full moon and was said to have the power to heal any illness. Determined to find the night bloom, Luca packed a small bag with food, water, and a lantern. The full moon was rising, and he knew he had to leave immediately if he was to reach the garden in time. The journey begins. Luca entered the forest just as the sun was setting. The trees towered above him, their branches forming a canopy that blocked out the light of the moon. But Luca pressed on, guided by the faint glow of his lantern. The forest was quiet except for the rustling of leaves and the occasional hoot of an owl. As Luca walked, the shadows seemed to dance around him, but he wasn't afraid. He was determined to save his grandmother. After hours of walking, Luca came to a fork in the path. He didn't know which way to go and began to worry he might get lost. Just then, a soft light appeared in the darkness. Luca turned to see a small, glowing creature fluttering nearby. It was a firefly, but unlike any he had ever seen. This one was as large as his hand, and its light was bright and warm. The firefly circled Luca, then hovered in front of the right-hand path. Luca understood. "Thank you," he whispered, and followed the glowing guide. The firefly led Luca deeper into the forest, through winding paths and dense thickets. Finally, they arrived at a large clearing bathed in moonlight. In the center of the clearing was a garden unlike any Luca had ever seen. The flowers were strange and beautiful, their petals glowing softly in the light of the full moon. At the heart of the garden stood a single plant with silver leaves and a bud that shimmered like a star. Luca knew this must be the night bloom. The moonlit garden. Luca approached the night bloom, careful not to disturb the other plants. As he reached out to touch the bud, the firefly landed on his shoulder, its light flickering gently. Luca waited, watching the flower in awe. Slowly, the bud began to unfurl, its petals opening to reveal a deep blue center that glowed with a soft, magical light. Luca had never seen anything so beautiful. He knew this flower was the key to saving his grandmother. But just as Luca was about to pick the flower, he heard a soft voice. "Please, do not harm the night bloom," the voice said. Luca looked around but saw no one. The voice seemed to come from the flower itself. "Who are you?" Luca asked, surprised. "I am the spirit of the moonlit garden," the voice replied. "This garden is my home, and I protect all the plants and creatures that live here. The night bloom is sacred and should not be taken lightly." Luca hesitated. "My grandmother is very ill," he explained. "I need the night bloom to heal her. Please, let me take it." The spirit was silent for a moment, then spoke again. "The night bloom is powerful, but it must be taken with care. If you take it from the garden, its magic will fade before you reach your village. However, there is another way." Luca listened intently as the spirit continued. "Take a single petal from the night bloom and place it in this vial." A small vial appeared before Luca, shimmering in the moonlight. "The magic of the night bloom will remain strong in this vial, and it will be enough to heal your grandmother." Luca gently plucked a single petal from the night bloom, careful not to harm the plant. He placed the petal in the vial. And as soon as he did, the vial began to glow with the same soft light as the flower. "Thank you," Luca said, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "Remember," the spirit said, "use the magic wisely. The moonlit garden will always be here for those who seek it with a pure heart." With the vial safely tucked in his bag, Luca turned to leave. The firefly, still glowing brightly, guided him back through the forest, retracing their steps until they reached the edge of the trees. The moon was high in the sky, and Luca knew he had to hurry home. A miracle. When Luca returned to the cottage, his grandmother was still weak, her breathing shallow. Without wasting a moment, Luca opened the vial and let a single drop of the glowing liquid fall onto her lips. As soon as the liquid touched her, a soft light spread through her body. Her breathing steadied, and color returned to her cheeks. Luca watched in awe as the magic of the night bloom worked its miracle. Slowly, his grandmother opened her eyes and smiled at him. "Luca," she said softly, "you've done it. You found the moonlit garden." Luca hugged his grandmother, tears of relief and joy in his eyes. "I couldn't have done it without the help of the forest spirit," he said. The next day, the villagers were amazed to see Luca's grandmother up and about, healthier than she had been in years. They asked Luca how he had managed to heal her, and he told them the story of the moonlit garden and the night bloom. From that day on, Luca was known as a hero in the village. But he never boasted about his adventure, always remembering the spirit's words about using magic wisely. And so, Luca and his grandmother lived happily, with Luca continuing to learn the ways of nature and healing. He would often visit the edge of the forest, where the firefly would sometimes appear, guiding him back to the moonlit garden in his dreams. The legend of the moonlit garden was passed down through generations, and it was said that only those with a pure heart, like Luca, could find the garden and the magical night bloom. The end.